What's going on, guys? Necro back with another Shadowlands video. How are y'all doing? I hope you're doing well. Hope you have a coffee. I do. And it's better than yours. Shots fired. We're 10 seconds into the video. Let's go. Okay, let's talk about this dungeon we did. We did plus 15 hauls. Like I said on the Rogue, we are progressing through the dungeons, getting plus 15s done. Man, it's pretty much just butter on this thing. And we have a good group of guys all working together as well, obviously. But my God, look at how much damage we just did. 12.7k overall, and we were 251. Like, now, one thing I'm going to show you in this video that I want to talk about for a little bit before we get into the build is that I went Necrolord. Yes, in fact, we went back to green, baby. So it's really interesting. Necrolord, if you don't know, gets you Serrated Bone Spike, which, of course, it's a very low cooldown. Not low cooldown. It's a very low cost ability. 30-second recharge. You get 3 charges. You with me so far? It throws a spike at an enemy, and it is ranged, in fact, and it does damage, and it puts a bleed on them. So it does an upfront physical damage, which is pretty strong, and then it puts an infinite bleed on them, the bleed that will never go away until they die. Now, what's interesting about this is that when you get to the legendary effect from your unity, Serrated Bone Spike now gets 2 additional charges, and it launches 1 additional spike at a nearby enemy. So now it fires 2 spikes on each cast and has 5 charges for a potential total of 10 spikes being out at once. If you get a group, an AoE group of 10 enemies, and you make sure that you're kind of tab targeting and putting it appropriately. Now, you can't guarantee where the second spike's going to go. I don't know if it's a smart cast. I'm not really sure. But what I do know is that it can actually be cleaved by Blade Flurry. The upfront damage of Serrated Bone Spike can, in fact, be cleaved by Blade Flurry. So watch this. We hit here. Come here. We're going to hit Blade Flurry, and then we Bone Spike. And then we Bone Spike again. Bone Spike again. You can just keep pressing it over and over again, and it does a crazy amount of damage. Did it not calculate it there? These guys. It's not going to show it. Oh, the Grazer. Here we go. So again, like, you can just see it right here. It did a lot of damage, but so did Blade Flurry, because every time I threw a Bone Spike, you can see Blade Flurry hit 19 times there. It's just really, really cool. So you can take this ability that is supposed to be only really single target, and you can make it do massive cleave AoE to all kinds of enemies because of the Blade Flurry interaction with Outlaw Rogue. So this ability is typically, you would look at it as being a bad ability for Outlaw Rogue. Why? Because Outlaw Rogue wants to press Sinister Strike. Your entire build revolves around you pressing Sinister Strike and getting it to proc your pistol shot, right? So, excuse me. Wait, where is it here? S. It's just not going to show it. Sinister Strike here has a 45% chance to strike an additional time, which makes your next pistol shot half cost and do double damage. Of course, that ties into our legendary effect, which also says when Sinister Strike hits an additional time, there's a 40% chance your next pistol shot will fire 3 additional times. Interesting. So I really want to be pressing Sinister Strike. And then, of course, with the tier set bonus, every time you press a pistol shot, you load a hidden bullet. That hidden bullet, when you get 6 of them, will launch a between the eyes at your enemy, which can also be cleaved with Blade Flurry. So the build that I'm running in particular is all about pistol shot. And if I have Serrated Bone Spike, 5 charges of Serrated Bone Spike, then, like, I need to be casting Serrated Bone Spike, right? That's, like, really important. If I'm not casting Serrated Bone Spike, then it's like, it's just not going to be used, obviously. And, of course, at the same time, I'm not pressing Sinister Strike, which is, like, a problem. So that is an interesting part of this game that you need to balance, right? When you're picking a Covenant, depending on what spec you are, you have to really balance out, you know, what am I gaining from this ability versus what am I trying to accomplish on my spec, like with my build? What am I actually just trying to accomplish on my own? So like Kyrian, for example, just supports me pressing Sinister Strike and me pressing my finishers. It's an instant cast ability that anima charges all my combo points. That's what it does. This ability is like a whole separate thing all on its own that I have to be doing. If I'm not pressing Serrated Bone Spike, then I'm not getting the damage bonus out of it. And therefore, I'm not like cashing in on that. I'm not generating combo points. It's not saving me energy. It's really, really good, but it's separate from what I'm trying to accomplish on my build. So this is a little bit of an interesting build. I don't know if it's better than Kyrian. I ran it in this dungeon, and we did do a lot of damage overall. But, of course, you have to take the damage parses like dungeon by dungeon to see which is better. But this was the build that I ran. Necrolord with the Bone Spike. I kept with my Sinister Strike Pistol Shot Legendary, which I think is probably wrong. I think what would be much better to run in this case is the Vanish Legendary, which I don't even have. But this would be kind of interesting to reduce the remaining cooldown of all your other abilities by 20 seconds, because then you could really lean into Serrated Bone Spike and do as much damage as possible with this thing and not worry so much about proccing your pistol shots. So I'm not really sure how I feel about it yet. I'm going to test it in some more dungeons tonight, but it's very interesting. Of course, with the Soulbinds, I'm not totally maxed out yet, but I did go Plague Divisor Marilith, which is also interesting because you get Mastery whenever you press Fleshcraft, right? So I have my main Gouge right now does 1187 damage. Now it does 1460. So you get almost 300 damage every time your that procs, your Mastery procs, which is your offhand weapon. So that's main gauge down here. It did 4% on its own, and then obviously a bunch of that damage is in Blade Flurry. I don't really know what to say yet about the stats. I've only done one dungeon on it, and it performed pretty well. But it's interesting, is what I want to say. It's really interesting. And we're going to see that in the dungeon footage right now. So let's take a look at it. One thing I do want to say that's actually hilarious is that this here, this is the page for Outlaw Rogue, and this is the guy who talks about Necrolord Outlaw Rogue. He goes down here and it goes, Outlaw Rogue Necrolord Soulbind simulations. It doesn't show any Necrolord at all. It's clearly like down below whatever this whatever this measurement is right here. It's clearly below the Venthyr plus the Kyrian plus the Dreamweaver one for Night Fae, but like it's not even on the list, which I think is hilarious because nobody goes Necrolord apparently. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. What's better though is this dungeon footage. Let's get to it. I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to walk you through, of course, what you should do in general as a rogue in this Halls of Atonement. But I also want to specifically highlight how well Necrolord does here. So I'm cloaked right now, and I'm going to go blind this patrol. I know, right? Blind, and then you run over here. That stops the patrol from getting over here while you're pulling this shard pull. Of course, on pull, you want to do Tricks the tank, and then you want to do Mark for Death into a Slice and Dice. So you have Slice and Dice rolling, which I have it rolling right here, and then you want to press Roll the Bones. Yeah. And then you go. So I have Roll the Bones, Slice and Dice, everything's going. Now, my damage essentially... Watch how many times I can press Serrated Bone Spike. One really cool thing about Serrated Bone Spike is the more Bone Spikes you have active, the more combo points you generate each time you press it. I'm going to show a clip of that later that's really huge. But here comes my damage. Like, it's not bad. 16k so far. The bleeds are all out. 19k. The bleeds are, like, really strong, I think. Almost doing 20k. There's 20k. Again, right now I have like 1, 2, 3, 21k, by the way. Looks like I have 6 Serrated Bone Spikes are out. So that's 6 bleeds that are going off.
Should have mass dispelled them.
And then every time I press Serrated Bone Spike, it'll guarantee give me 6 combo points. So, like, I don't have any charges of it right now, but it's just amazing that you can funnel this into Blade Flurry. That's really what makes this so good. It's just incredible that you can do that. And again, we're doing 20k DPS. I think I end up dying here. Oh, not quite. My cheat death goes off. I also have my other defensive here in Fleshcraft, and I don't press it because I'm trying to do damage, but I should have actually channeled it right here because Xlyynks died. But just like really solid opening DPS here on on the build. I'm very impressed by it. The AoE potential of Serrated Bone Spike is crazy because you just get the free cleave, which is really, really cool, and the free bleed cleave as well. Let's move on to this next little pull here. Again, I have all my charges are back. Like, all 5 of my charges are back. So, like, that's interesting. Whenever an enemy dies, you get a charge of Serrated Bone Spike back. And if you have a bunch of Serrated Bone Spikes out, you generate extra combo points, and it does a lot of damage, and it can be cleaved by Blade Flurry to do even more damage. There's a lot of bonuses to having this ability. It's very flexible. You can use it on every single pack, right? You have it on every single pack. All 5 charges you'll have on every single pack. Look, I have 3 of my charges back, and my 4th one is coming around the bend here. So, like, that to me is just the flexibility of this build. It's a ranged ability, which you're going to see on a couple boss fights where I get to use it. On the final boss fight, it's very flexible because it's ranged. If you're forced out of melee to do mechanics, you can still use Serrated Bone Spike, and you could then follow up with a Between the Eyes. You could follow up with a pistol shot. You can always do stuff from range, and this adds to that flexibility. So, once again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bleeds going, it looks like, right now. I'm doing 20k DPS again. I mean, I'm only 251, guys. I've got, like, at least 15 eye levels to go on average. I mean, I'm trying to get to 270, obviously. But, so I've got about 20 eye levels to go, and it just does a lot of damage. Even though we don't have any, like, we don't have any, like, straight-up bleed synergy. Like, Assassination Rogue has bleed synergy, right? You can make your bleeds better, and then the bleeding portion of Serrated Bone Spike gets better. But just the physical damage of this, being able to cleave it for free with Blade Flurry is insane. It generates so many combo points, which saves you GCDs trying to generate combo points on your own. It does a lot of damage, and it refunds you charges. I have 4 charges back after killing that pack. Very flexible, very cool. The only problem with it, as I highlighted before, is that you have to press Serrated Bone Spike versus pressing Sinister Strike, which Sinister Strike is kind of core to the tier set bonus, and it's core to the legendary that I'm running. Now, what my general strategy was to simply use all my Serrated Bone Spikes right off the bat. Get them going. See all my bleeds right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bleeds, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bleeds right now. Get them all out of the way. Spend all of the Serrated Bone Spike charges and cleave it with Blade Flurry, and then go into my regular rotation of trying to focus on Sinister Strikes into those huge pistol shots to generate combo points. So that's what I decided to do. So I was still getting the bonus of my legendary effect, and I was still getting my tier set proccing all the time, but I just had this extra little thing I had to do first. The first, like, 5 to 7 seconds of every fight was just me applying Serrated Bone Spikes to enemies and then going into my rotation. So that's kind of generally how we did it. So, again, the damage is just really, really good, I think. I'm not sure. Let me get my notes over here. I'm not sure what else to say about it other than, like, it's actually quite strong. I don't think it's necessarily better than Kyrian, because Kyrian really doubles down on the Sinister Strike playstyle that I'm going for, the pistol shot playstyle. So what I might want to do is switch to the Vanish legendary, which I'm not used to using. That would be a whole different playstyle change. I'd have to get used to that. But this might work really, really, really well with that Vanish legendary that reduces the cooldown of all your abilities by 20 seconds, including Serrated Bone Spike. So that might actually be super, super cool. So let's move forward, though. Let's get to the Halkias boss fight, 159. So again, right here, right off the bat, I'm getting my Serrated Bone Spike back even from this guy. So that's kind of, it's nice you can kind of cheat some cooldown reduction there. And here's our damage. We're doing 13k right now on Halkias in our gear, which is, like, kind of insane. Obviously, this loses value. The Necrolord Serrated Bone Spike stuff loses a lot of value on single target fights. So this is where Kyrian would absolutely pull ahead because you're getting all those anima charge combo points, right, for free. Whereas here I can't spread my Bone Spike to any extra enemies. So I can't, like, get the cooldown reduction back. I can't get extra bleeds rolling, all that jazz. So
it's probably better for Death Strike.
This definitely loses some value in single target, for sure. No doubt about it. So, but this fight goes really, really well. We almost do 10k overall. Then, of course, you're always going to want to stealth here, guys.
Shroud if you want.
Now, obviously, right now, this season, we have the relics, and you're going to get woe, and you can woe skip here. But in next season, when we don't have the relics anymore, you're going to want rogues to be in your party again to do these kinds of skips. So this is a Shroud skip.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
I get stuck on the pillar here. And then you want to press sprint because everybody else is mounted, right? So press sprint, then get ready with your grappling hook so that nobody falls out of the Shroud. You want to make sure you're always in the middle of your team. And then everybody's good, they get past, and we're good. That's how you shroud that. So, again, we're not even going to be doing this dungeon in Season 4, but, like, the idea here is simply to say that next season, rogues will probably be more popular again because you won't have the woe skip. So, once again, we start off here. This is the Echelon boss fight. One thing I want to talk about here is that I think I can Fleshcraft both the Curse Stun and I can Cloak the Curse Stun. Here's some big AoE damage here. Got Blade Flurry
Yeah,
rolling.
good except for the healing.
I'm making fun of Lynx here.
That's right.
So again, here, you just want to use all your Bone Spike charges, in my opinion. We got so I actually am getting Bone Spike charges back, which is crazy. But I use all my charges, so I'm not waiting for AoE. You could save them for the AoE portion, but it's not going to matter. The bleed just doesn't last that long. And you need to just use your damage abilities, like get them out of the way. So here's this Curse of Stone I'm talking about. I have a curse on me right now. I'm going to get stunned in 4 seconds, okay, right here. So what I'm thinking is that I could use Cloak here, and I probably could use Fleshcraft. And I didn't realize that I could do either of those things because I'm an idiot. So I need to work on that. I think that's actually something that I can do. Here's some big damage from... Watch this here. Watch this pistol shot. I have pistol shot loaded up, ready to go. I'm going to get like 4 shots of it with my Blade Flurry rolling. Boom, boom, boom. Look at the damage numbers just popping. Honestly, the playstyle is just so much fun. Just funneling all your single target damage into AoE. It's just really cool and really unique. Like you don't have an AoE button, you know? Again, right here, I could use Fleshcraft, I think, to stop this thing from stunning me because with Plague, when you're, with Plague Divisor Marileth, that's the Soulbind I'm running, you become immune to CC when you're channeling Fleshcraft.
Oh,
so
I should Fleshcraft.
I'm realizing that I'm an idiot right here, and I completely messed it up. So anyway, we do 11k overall on Echelon, which is really good. Then we're into here. Again, I also just love that Fleshcraft is another button that I can press defensively.
Serenity.
Rogue has a lot of good defensive buttons anyway, Feint being one of the best ones that I need to use more often. But Feint and Cloak and then your heal with your file and then evasion is just really, really good. All the tools you have. But Fleshcraft adds that like additional... You're basically invincible with Fleshcraft. If you're using it correctly, you're actually invincible. It's crazy. Once again, I'm spreading Bone Spikes around here. And we're doing pretty good damage. You can see we're always going to start climbing up here. We have, of course, the AoE specs are going to do better than us with their cooldowns. Survival Hunter, Windwalker Monk going to do better on AoE in general, which is really, really good to see. But our damage is not too shabby at all. I'm very impressed with it, actually. I'm shocked as to how well this thing's doing. Again, we're doing 14k here. You want to grab Vi here before you get to the boss fight. And then you want to pull the boss with Vi. And then grab on the actual boss fight itself. I decided just to go over here and kill Vi because he's being annoying. And Vi can do a lot of damage over time. See, I have a bunch of Bone Spikes out right now. I'm going to get those back for free once those enemies die or get out of combat. So this loyal Stoneborn, I don't know if he actually dies. Yeah, I think he will actually die. We don't have a Venthyr person. No. So I got 1 charge of my Bone Spike back right there. And then I'm going to get another charge back.
It's just her mechanic.
In a second. One thing that I want to talk about here is Feint on this fight is the most broken cooldown ever. Every single part of this fight, except for the tank getting auto-attacked, is an AoE. The red swirlies on the ground are AoE. The damage pulses that happen to you when she spawns this guy right here, this fixation guy, he's pulsing AoE damage right now. On top of that, her volley of power... actually, it might not be AoE. I think that's just a targeted ability. But like half the abilities in this fight are AoE, and you can feint all that damage. You can just basically get rid of that damage with feint. So I need to use feint more often because it's a really, really strong cooldown. But that's just another tip for rogue players on this Aleez boss fight. There's lots of AoE. Make sure you use your feint. This final AoE room, we do just a crazy amount of damage once again because I can press Blade Flurry and then I can do Serrated Bone Spike. And it spreads those bleeds around.
I think it's just corn syrup and sugar, basically.
We're having a debate about real maple syrup versus Aunt Jemima's.
I gotcha. Yeah, I know it's mostly fake.
Zoe's not a fan of Aunt Jemima's. I actually really like Aunt Jemima's, but we're not allowed to have it in this household because if somebody
It's not that it's bad. It's just that it's for peasants.
peasants.
Primarily AOE.
I'm not a
We have
peasant.
really good
Well, clearly
AOE guys.
Wow. Well, that settles it, guys. I'm a peasant because I like maple syrup. The wrong kind of maple syrup.
Exactly.
Anyway, our damage here is really, really good.
Remember
So
this dungeon, like, when
we're
the
doing
expansion first
17K.
launched, I couldn't time hauls ever because every tank was like, "Hi, we're just doing like a normal one pack at a time thing," and like you'd miss the dungeon timer by like 12 minutes. It's just like
yeah.
this is like not how you're supposed to.
18K, guys, overall. 18K on this big boss room. Like, again, I think if you had a better, like, if you had a way to group these enemies up a little bit better, your big uncapped AoE guys would be doing crazy amounts of damage. But we're doing good damage here. This is what's so good about it. 18K overall on that that little mini boss there. Oh yeah, cat. This is so funny. Look at this.
Good woe skip, good woe skip.
I was gonna say. Good thing we got woe there. Good woe skip right there. Amazing. Okay, last boss fight. This is Lord Chamberlain. Oh yeah. Sorry, I gotta back up here.
I was
Listen.
gonna say.
Listen to Lynx
I think we
here.
got whoa there. Huge.
Listen to this.
Don't pull a Zuka and get hit by the fucking statues.
Truth.
Get her down quick for the soak.
Oh,
And then
I get hit by the statue. No. Oh my god.
as soon as you said get down, I stopped looking at the pillars. You distracted me.
Literally last week I was memeing on Link so hard because he got hit by the statue and he said like I never get hit by statues ever. So I was like memeing on him really hard and then he's like, so he comes in here, ironically he's like, don't be like Zuko and get hit by the statues because I actually hadn't gotten hit by the statues yet and then I get frickin' trucked by the first one. I think it's hilarious. So funny. Bone Spike. The last thing I want to talk about for Serrated Bone Spike for Necrolord is that it gives you flexibility. I talked about that earlier. It's a ranged ability. So right here on the boss fight, he's going to toss this thing, and then he does a big AoE circle, Chamberlain does, a big red AoE circle right here. It's called Erupting Torment. This I have to get out of this as a melee. You're forced to get out. So you do as much damage as you can until you have to get out, and then I can run out here like this and throw a Bone Spike so I'm not losing any damage, and then use Between the Eyes. Boom, and I didn't lose any
favorite place to be.
uptime. I lost some auto attack damage, but that's it. So, like, again, the flexibility of Bone Spike is actually quite cool.
Everybody soaked with me.
And this is good. You have to soak this, of course.
Be one on this front side.
I think it's either Joe or Sleepa do a really good job soaking this. I'm soaking one right now. Lynx is soaking one right now, and Joe's soaking one right now. So Joe's soaking 2 of them now. I think Joe's soaking 3 of them, actually. And he barely took any damage at all. So
Did you get
really,
all of them, Joe?
that's what I mean. I think Joe got 3 out of the 4 there.
You getting
Really,
all of them at one
really
point
good
there?
by
At
him.
a time?
So again, another Erupting Torment. I run out with
And
my
at one-
pistol shot.
I got a shit ton of damage.
Well, you did have one at one point, but then it like got taken away from you because I think Joe repositioned.
I had
You have to be careful when you're dashing back into the boss
And at
there.
one-
Big, I got a shit ton of damage.
So he does his telekinetic toss here, right? And then I use Blade Rush to get back in, but I Blade Rush over top of a pillar, which they don't like that, and so it bounced me and took like half my health, which is pretty stupid, but anyway, that's just what happens. So here's the final ritual of woe. Again, you need to soak it. We have things like Cloak. You have things like Fleshcraft now. I don't think you can use Feint. I don't think this is an AoE ability, so I don't think you can Feint it. But if you are taking the talent that buffs Feint, you could have used Feint here as well. So I'm going to start taking that talent that makes you take 30% less damage in general whenever you press Feint, because I think it's incredibly strong. Then, of course, we just have the final phase where he's doing telekinetic toss. I don't know how I didn't get hit there. I was actually so close. But here's our damage overall.
It's been really hard.
12.7k. Let's go back to the gameplay. I just like could not be more happy with the damage. It's just really good, guys. It's really good. Like, I was so shocked because I thought that like Serrated Bone Spike is going to mess up my regular rotation where I'm trying to press Sinister Strike, and I think that's actually partially true. I think that I should probably pick a different legendary, pick maybe the Vanish legendary here, or I don't know, green skins maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's something. I could just go Serenity for sure. Just get 8% more damage. But I'm actually very interested in seeing about the Invigorating Shadow Dust and then reducing the cooldown of Serrated Bone Spike even further. But it's a very different playstyle. It's versus Kyrian, which just says, hey, go do what you're normally doing, but do it better. So the Kyrian one is like very simple and straightforward. You're just doing your rotation. Necrolord like changes the entire game, whereas where you want to be pressing Serrated Bone Spike as much as possible. And I think that opens up a different legendary choice potentially. So I'm going to look into that and see maybe there's something that maybe there's something that I can do there where I can just pick a different legendary and get a general DPS legendary that's just going to buff all my damage, like Serenity or like the Invigorating Shadow Dust where I get the cooldowns back, and then just blast with the Necrolord ability with Serrated Bone Spike because it's really fun and it's very versatile. Again, it does a ton of upfront damage. It can be cleaved by Blade Flurry. It generates additional combo points for every Bone Spike that's already out, and it generates additional combo points if you have the Roll the Bones proc that gives you additional combo points. Every time you generate a combo point, you generate one more. That also benefits Serrated Bone Spike. And Serrated Bone Spike is versatile. It's ranged. It can be cast from ranged, so you have the ability to get into mechanics and still keep doing damage. So, like, very, very strong. Fleshcraft is an incredibly strong cooldown. It just gives you more damage on your mastery. So main gauge does way more damage. Like, overall, this thing is really good. It's really, really good. I think it's almost as good as Kyrian. It might be just as good as Kyrian. I just have to play it a little bit differently. Maybe pick a different legendary. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Necrolord Outlaw Rogue. What do you think about this setup? Do you think there's an obvious legendary that I should be picking here instead of the Blunderbuss one? Because the Blunderbuss one really wants me to press Sinister Strike, and I don't want to press Sinister Strike as much when I have this Serrated Bone Spike going. So let me know what you think. I'm really interested to hear comments below from Outlaw Rogues and people who have played Necrolord. What is your experience with it? I would love to know. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, drop a like down below. If you haven't subbed yet, I would also really appreciate that. And there's a Patreon down below that you guys can grab if you want to support the future of what's going on at this channel. Again, I would appreciate that as well. Until the next one, guys, we'll see you later.